Welcome to the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, the podcast stuffed with Nintendo. My name is Brandon Miracle, broadcasting live from the Break Room Arcade. If you look south of me in the video version, you'll see the wonderful face of Paul Anderson, broadcasting live from the Break Room Clubhouse. If you look to the right of me in the video version, you'll see the wonderful face of Logan Welliver, broadcasting live from the Break Room bedroom.
Hi, I just posted in our Discord.
Yay!
Yeah, you did.
Join our Discord.
So welcome to the very first episode of the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, recorded live on June 29th, 2018. Guys, we did it. We're here.
Yeah, we did.
Now we're doing 2 podcasts a week.
It's the first podcast all over again. Just kidding.
Oh man, I gotta start over.
We're doing remakes of every single episode.
Remake every episode for what, like 4.5 months worth?
Not remake. Remakes.
Oh no, we're like over 5 months deep. We're getting close to that 6-month mark, aren't we?
This would have been week 20 if this was still the Breakdown podcast.
We are pregnant beyond doubt.
Okay, so if you're looking for the Breakdown podcast, that will actually be recorded on Mondays from now on, 7:30 p.m. Central Time.
Mondays.
So
with that,
go for it, Paul.
Your day.
In the audio version of the podcast, they will be posted on our website. Both this podcast will be on Tuesday. Breakdown podcast will also be Tuesday. Both of them will go up on Tuesdays, and so one will be. Oh, would that be a week behind, or I don't know how that works. Time. We'll figure out that witchcraft later.
Yeah. Anyway.
2 podcasts.
So this podcast will be entirely dedicated to Nintendo stuff. So Nintendo news, Nintendo games we're playing, that kind of stuff is all going to be in this podcast. For the movies, TV, anime, and other video games that we're playing, you can check out the Breakdown podcast. We just found that it was a little hard to kind of squeeze everything we wanted to do into one, so what I decided, and we all came together to decide that we're going to split them up into 2. So you can consider this Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and you can consider the other one Super Smash Bros. For 3DS.
So the other podcast sucks, is what you're saying.
Stop.
We know this is the one you want.
Well, I think this is good because, you know, at a certain point, it all kind of starts to bleed together. So dividing the one podcast into 2 podcasts allows us to take a different approach. Obviously, this is about news. And just we can just talk about our feelings about the things that are happening outside of us, right? So this is the outside of us podcast about Nintendo stuff.
For sure.
Whoa, man! Quit changing the name. We already decided.
What Nintendo things? Was that it?
It's
Yes.
Nintendo objects and also persons and places.
Nintendo junk.
The Nintendo Junk Podcast.
But yeah, so go ahead.
So the first thing on the docket, we started doing this last week, I think. We're going to be talking about all of the week's updates on the Super Smash Bros. Blog on the Super Smash Bros. Website. So last week we left off with Ice Climbers, and the first post was on June 24th with Corrin as today's fighter. Hey, Corrin's back. Okay.
And it's not DLC this time. Yay.
No, Corrin's burned into the package from the get-go.
I mean, why would you get rid of a character? You know,
As it turns out,
modifying
we're
one
not.
character is better than creating a whole new character.
You know what would have been a really great pitch for Smash Brothers Ultimate, though?
What's that?
Every fighter's coming back except Corrin.
Everyone but Corrin.
That was the only character we could not fit into this game. Sorry.
So, I don't remember, was Corrin playable at the E3 demo? I don't think so.
I don't believe so either, but...
So we don't really have any idea how Corrin has changed. We just know that Corrin's here. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have Corrin back.
I mean, I can't imagine she'll change all that much. She was a pretty unique character right out of the gate.
As far as Fire Emblem is concerned, at least.
Yeah.
Because it was nice to not have another sword fighter. You know, we get Fire Emblem announced as DLC for another character, but they're not just a sword fighter. They can transform into a dragon.
More specifically,
yeah,
we got another Fire Emblem
like,
character that isn't a Marth clone. Or an Egg clone. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to have a Fire Emblem character that isn't the other 2 Fire Emblem characters.
Yeah. I mean, I could even see more Fire Emblem characters being thrown in there. Maybe like, obviously we had Robin, who was part swords swords fighter.
Spellcaster.
Sword magic.
And yeah, spellcaster. So it'd be nice to get like full blown mage.
It was really awesome, actually. I remember the announcement for that live stream for that trailer for Robin, because Sakurai was like, all right, we're gonna reveal a character. It's like a 4-minute live stream, and I got up at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning to watch it in bed. Captain Falcon was also revealed in that trailer, so it was a good day. But I remember I was like fully anticipating Chrom to show up and it just to be another sword fighter, and then Robin like descends into the scene, and I was like, okay, I'm into
it's
this.
The Avatar character.
And then we get that little Chrom.
Oh yeah,
snub.
Today's just not his day, but it is. But he was just in the final smash.
They know exactly.
I hope he gets an Echo character.
He should.
I hope that's one of the Echo fighters, because it still hurts.
I was gonna say he should echo Lucina instead of Marth, but that would have been a dumb statement.
I was gonna say Ike, but I actually want to go with yours instead. I prefer Lucina to Marth.
The reason I said that is from a canonical standpoint, it would make sense for the two of them to have the same moveset. For those of you who haven't played Awakening, I won't get into why, but it does. So yeah, that's Corrin. Cool to have Corrin back. I am much more excited about today's fighter from the 25th being Snake, because holy wow, that I was not ever expecting to happen again. I think
while we're on this one, we should stop on like the next on our list too, because it ties into Snake.
Oh yeah. So Solid Snake has been the subject of controversy since his reveal in Smash because his butt's gone.
It's not gone. Okay, it's not gone. You need to stop. You need to stop contributing to butt shaming. Okay, because it's not gone.
I'm not shaming his butt. Smaller. I think it looks great.
But you said it was gone. You said it was gone,
his
like it was non-existent.
It's
not gone.
It's not the same.
Changed.
There's a significant reduction to the size of Snake's booty.
There has been some more padding added so that, you know, he doesn't get a wedgie, because he had an intense wedgie in Brawl.
Oh yeah.
Not a problem anymore. And you think about it, you know, Solid Snake, his whole thing is being sneaky, so of course he's gonna hide his butt. I mean, come on.
The best part about this, though, the whole controversy is that the voice actor actually is upset about it.
David Hayter himself.
Like, even he commented on it. How amazing is that, though?
Do we know who's voicing Snake for the English dub in this game?
David Hayter,
I believe.
Okay.
It's not going to be Kiefer Sutherland, who has taken over the role of Snake in the games. Snake, on the topic of Snake, Snake has also been added, Solid Snake and Naked Snake have been added to Super Bomberman R as playable characters, also voiced by David Hayter. So I guess like they're just backpedaling and they're like, all right, David Hayter, you're going to be Snake again. Either that or they couldn't afford Kiefer.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously any Metal Gear nut, you know, who's been there since the beginning, just kind of, you know, got that David Hayter appreciation. But either way, I mean, I think it's cool that they're using him.
I think
this again,
you know, it's Solid Snake is appearing in his MGS2 appearance, which is the same appearance that he had in Brawl. So from a technicality and a canonical standpoint, it would have been strange if they had changed from David Hayter to Kiefer, because you know that's not the way it was in the games, and Sakurai is all about detail.
Right.
Detail.
I guarantee if this had been Naked Snake from MGS5, we would have not had the same voice actor.
What if that's what they did? What if they went back into those games and they were playing through like Metal Gear Solid 2 and just sitting there and just comparing? Okay, here's Brawl, here's Metal Gear Solid 2. What do we need to fix about his design? God, his butt's too big. We gotta reduce his butt size.
He's been overly objectified as a man, so we had to dial it back. Captain Falcon's already in the game.
All that quiet stuff from Metal Gear Solid 5.
What was that, Paul?
David hating on that booty.
He is hating on that booty. He has a right, though. I'm glad just to see David Hayter back because he seemed really upset about not being Snake in MGS5. Also because Konami never contacted him, as far as I understand. He just came to find out one day, oh, I guess I'm not Snake anymore. Great.
That's just not cool, man.
I can't imagine what it would have been like if Solid Snake had been revealed and it wasn't David Hayter. It would have not blown over well. I would have been upset.
Not my snake.
Not my snake. Dreamdrop says, I like how the sexualization was super in your face in Smash 4, but it's completely non-existent this round. It's kind of hilarious. Yeah, you know, they toned up Zero Suit Samus and they toned up Snake. At least it wasn't like only male or only female. Sakurai was being very progressive and he did it for everyone.
The thing I'm still waiting for is Shulk. Does Shulk still have that really nice costume from last game? That's just shorts.
That really nice costume.
Really.
But you gotta draw
nice
a line somewhere, right? You gotta draw a line somewhere. It's like not just every man who's shirtless has to be sexualized. You know, it's like, okay, so we've reduced a few things here and there, but they're still very boisterous displays of sexuality.
See, I think what happened.
I mean, Bayonetta.
Fan theory. I'm willing to bet that what happened behind the scenes is that Snake donated some of his derriere to Luigi. Because have you seen Luigi?
Lolly Lulelo. Yeah.
Can we get some confirmation on this? Can we get a picture of Luigi pulled up? Can we see the booty?
I want to see if I can find it.
I'm not in a position where I could pull it up on screen right this second. But feel free to look him up on your own time while you're watching the show.
Yeah, Luigi's never had a butt. Let's get that man a butt.
He got upgraded. You know, speaking of like half-naked costumes, I was thinking, because you know we have Champion Link in Super Smash Brothers, and you can in Breath of the Wild you can go around in your underwear. If you can't play as underwear Link, I'm gonna riot.
Also, underwear Mario.
Oh yeah, you're right, because of Super Mario Odyssey. What is with Nintendo recently?
Underwear Trevor from GTA 5.
Okay, underwear Trevor in Smash Brothers. Okay, moving forward to June 26th, there's actually multiple updates. Today's music. Noisy Notebook from Snipper Clips. This was a very pleasant surprise to know that Snipper Clips will have some form of, you know, introduction in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Whether it just be the song, or maybe if they get a stage, probably trophies as well. But this is cool. I thought the song was neat. It's nice to see the game getting represented.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate that I don't think the possibilities for DLC are pretty endless. You know, like this was their goal for release, and this is a lot of content. But I imagine that Sakurai's like, this is my last game. But let's see how far I can make
I didn't just post a link in the chat. What?
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if after this game comes out, Sakurai kind of leaves the project and all the DLC is just handled by the team.
I think it's the best thing for him.
Yeah, I feel, or maybe take on like a different role during that time, much hands-off role, more like a guidance role, maybe leading people where they need to go, you know, using his expertise. But who knows if that will happen. Who knows if Sakurai could survive in that position, you know?
We also have to entertain the possibility that there could be no DLC at all.
We could,
yeah.
Sakurai,
but I think that's absurd.
Sakurai plays at the beat of, plays to the beat of his own drum. He does what he thinks is right, and obviously DLC was something. It's weird because with Smash 4, Mewtwo was the only planned DLC, and it was just a bonus for having both Wii U and 3DS. And then, like, in that process somewhere, they were like, "What if we made more DLC?"
Do you like money?
Yeah, so I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo like lobbied for Sakurai to do DLC. But the way like business is in Japan, I don't think they would force him to do that necessarily.
No. But I could see them doing it without him.
Yeah,
I
and that's
definitely
fine.
feel like he needs to give more responsibility to this team and start teaching other people, so the pressure's not completely on him. It's not all on his shoulders for every Smash game, you know?
And I mean, with Smash 4, you know, Sakurai is famously like hand balanced characters in Smash all the way through Brawl by himself, only him. With Smash 4, the reins were kind of let go a little bit, and Bandai Namco actually did the balancing for Smash 4. And it is confirmed that they are doing it again. It's solved, but he will not be the only person.
Right.
Dream Drop says that'd be a rather absurd shift from what previous Smash and what Nintendo has been doing now. Every major title thus far has had a DLC pack of some kind. So even if Sakurai doesn't want it, I'm assuming it will happen, will be the following statement to that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But clips, Modachi Life stage or something. Not like a Snipper Clip stage, but if we got a Snipper Clip stage, I think the possibilities for that are pretty cool.
I'd be really into that if we did.
I'd be pretty, yeah. There's a lot of possibilities. They can make a really original stage, given the functionality of that game.
Snipper Clips stage, and then Snip and Clip assist trophy. That's the way I see this going, if it happens at all.
Right.
Ooh.
Speaking of assist trophies, the other update on June 26th was Sukapone. Sukapone is actually from like the NES, like Rob kind of days. At least that's what I understand. I was not aware of Sukapone before this.
Don't know what the heck Sukapone is.
But Sukapone is here.
Except for this picture.
I love Sukapone's design. I like that his body's not attached to itself. He's just kind of this pink thing with no expression. And it sounds like he just runs over to you, he picks you up, and he throws you. And that's it.
Yay!
Sounds like a fun existence.
Digging a little deeper into the items, the next day, June 27th,
we got flying in my face.
We got Leomon. We got Leomon.
Solgaleo and Lunala from Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. This was kind of a given. Like, we knew this was going to happen. This always happens. Every Smash game gets the new wave of Pokemon, usually always including the legendaries.
I mean, on top of adding more Pokemon to the Pokeball item, you need to add more to the Master Ball item.
Oh yeah, because they introduced that in Smash 4, which would exclusively drop legendary Pokemon. So I'm cool. I'm really excited to see them here. They look cool in HD, I think.
I love Leomon.
Yo, but what about this third Pokemon here?
Sukapone?
No, the third Pokemon.
The monkey one.
Yeah, he's got like a DK on his like tie.
Oh, that Pokemon. He's just kind of a gorilla-looking guy, and he's got a tie that says DK on it. I think that's pretty cool. Doesn't really make sense in nature.
He looks like a playable character too.
What? No.
Yeah, dude, it's like new Pokemon character.
I hope he's got like a costume where he's just
not be a very popular Pokemon.
Is he like a Gen 8 Pokemon? Like we haven't seen.
I'm not familiar with him.
Gen 9 Pokemon. Wow.
Yeah, they're teasing Gen 9 already.
Do you think he'll show up? Maybe he's the special Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the new one.
Yeah, man.
It has to be. He has to be.
Yeah, he's probably a fighting type. He's got a good sense of style with that tie. It doesn't really make sense in nature, if you ask me, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna guess
like he's from the anime side of things, that like a normal Donkey Kong wouldn't have the tie.
Actually,
maybe like Ash's Donkey Kong.
I looked it up, and there's actually this anime that was made in France. It's like 3D computer graphics from like the early 90s or like the mid 90s, and it's called Donkey Kong Country.
Oh wow!
And for a second there, I was like, "Did we just get serious now? Did we stop screwing around?"
Donkey Kong is back in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Of course he is. I'd be upset if he wasn't. They made a few changes to him. Like we said, his final smash has changed. When he picks up characters, because you know Donkey Kong can pick up characters for throwing and then walk around with them. He picks them up, puts them over one shoulder. That's actually lifted from Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze, because that's the way he'll pick up barrels in those games. So good attention to detail from Sakurai.
Such detail.
Such detail. And he mentioned in the Direct, and he used Donkey Kong as the example, that the characters will be a lot more expressive. And I thought that was pretty neat that he took the time to mention that.
In this trailer too, when he goes to punch Peach, you can see it in Toad specifically. He's got that like angry, like "Don't mess with me, man."
Yeah, some of the expressions come right out of Smash 4, like the bug eyes and whatnot, but the angry expression's actually brand new, and I really, really love it, so...
I have to know, does Luigi have his death stare?
From Mario Kart 8? It would
I
be,
really, really hope.
It'd be a shame
so
if he
good.
didn't. An actual shame. So that's actually all the updates for Super Smash Blog this week. If there's any more updates later today, sorry, we'll talk about them next week.
Also, it's been delayed.
Yes, it was delayed till November 14th, 2049.
No.
I hope I'm not dead by then.
Well, I mean, I just died inside, so I don't think I'm gonna make it.
So continuing on that Smash train a little bit, Nintendo
like
has
31
confirmed
years.
that not every stage have over 85 stages in the game, which beats out every game in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. And I mean, there are some that are like totally necessary, and then some that just like aren't. For example, we don't need Final Destination.
Yeah, I mean, who needs Final Destination? Nobody
Battlefield.
likes Final Destination. Nobody. Everyone hates Battlefield.
Yeah, we don't need Battlefield. We don't need a Hyrule
But
Castle.
you know what they love is Rumble Falls from Brawl. That's the best stage in Smash history.
What's that Donkey Kong stage? That's the one everybody loves.
75M. Rumble Falls is also a Donkey Kong stage. Poke Floats or I Riot? Yes, obviously. Poke Floats used to be in competitive Melee. At the beginning of competitive Melee, it was a legal stage because they had no idea what they were doing.
Fair enough. See,
But Poke Floats.
the only thing I care about is that Corneria.
And
I
that's been
mean-
confirmed already.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm basically good. I mean, Final Destination is still there. Every stage has a Final Destination version, so even if it wasn't, we're still good.
And a Battlefield form.
Every stage has a Battlefield stage. They need to like add in one more that's just an Animal Crossing one.
Smash,
Same, like,
Smashville. Every stage is a Smashville version.
just one flat stage with that one platform that goes back and forth. Because why not? You basically did all the work already.
Yeah. I would think that'd be pretty funny if Sakurai did that, because at that point he's almost making fun of the competitive community.
Well, it's just fun for diversity's sake,
Yeah, I mean,
not every battle has to be Final Destination or Battlefield,
or Smashville. So I want to point out to people that there are going to be 4 ways to play on every stage in the game as it is. You have the base stage, the stage with hazards turned off,
Go even further beyond.
Battlefield
Go
version,
further beyond.
the Final Destination version. So multiply at least 85 stages
final form.
times 4, and that's a lot of stages.
That's a lot of stage design.
And that's not even counting
working assets.
Yeah, and they've been doing this for like they started in December 2015. So it'll be like
Not
3
bad.
years by the time the game comes out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully for some of it, it was literally just like creating assets, making them prettier.
Like all the Wii U stages were just like
Right,
very,
right.
very small updates. Not that they didn't go very far, because they look very
Right.
nice.
But I mean, even with the ones that are fully remade, like you're still just like working within a framework, right?
Yeah, like this
just
is the
trying to-
stage. Let's just draw over it
Right.
again.
So there's less of, okay, we gotta come up with a whole idea, which is it's a whole nother ballpark, right?
Yeah, and most of this wouldn't have been possible if Sakurai hadn't made the decision to build off of Smash 4. That was a very intelligent move by his part.
Not so much you can make minor adjustments to the gameplay, but it's kind of settling. It's becoming a real sport of sorts. We don't update certain sports all that much anymore. Like, how are you going to update soccer to be more interesting or to be more balanced? You just get different players, right?
Yeah.
But for video games, a lot of times it's like, okay, well, how do we improve upon this? And in a lot of ways, the 2D plane, we've kind of mastered that, right? And so in that same way, Sakurai has kind of mastered what Smash Bros. Has become. Now he's using all that expertise to make a game that balances everything to become the ultimate, the definitive Smash Bros. Experience. And I think that's what we're going to get.
What if we made it a self-balancing Smash Brothers, though?
Oh my goodness, Dream Drop, don't even start with me. Did you say he builds off of Smash 4? Well, yeah, it's a port, obviously.
I was actually gonna make that joke.
That's like all the ammo that the port supporters needed.
I don't get it. I don't know where that argument even came from.
You know, there's an important piece of news
Especially
that's
now
not
that
on
we
this
have like
list
a
that I just
completely
realized.
different title. Smash Bros. For Wii U Ultimate? Nice.
So for Smash for Ultimate, yeah.
For
Mario
Ultimate?
Kart Double Dash is a port of Super Mario Sunshine.
But yeah, there is an important
Plus.
piece of news that didn't make it on this list, though now I'm looking at it. Did you guys hear that Super Smash Brothers is coming to the Nintendo Switch?
I believe
I
you.
hate you, Paul.
Moving forward, Reggie says Sakurai will be aware of the groundswell of support for playable Waluigi in Smash Bros. Ultimate. If he's not aware already, because he's been blocking people on Twitter for it.
Yeah. Quit harassing the man. If you want Waluigi in the game, don't harass the person making the game.
Technically,
Just
he
don't
never
harass
said
anybody in
Waluigi wasn't a playable character. He revealed him as an assist trophy, but technically that doesn't mean anything.
If you annoy him enough, he might just make his slot as an assist trophy permanent.
You guys are the true dreamers right here.
Well, remember Ridley in Super Smash Bros. 4? His first reveal in Smash 4 was as a shadow on Pyrosphere grabbing Pikachu, and like the theorizing and the all the people on the internet was like, oh, Ridley's playable. He grabbed Pikachu. He's got to be playable. And then he was just a stage hazard on Pyrosphere. And now he's playable.
Yeah. He evolved.
It can happen. So, like, chill out. Let Sakurai do his thing, and maybe you'll get your dreams granted.
So
If
who
you quit
takes over
wasting
for
his time
Ridley?
complaining,
Who takes over
maybe
for
you'll have
Ridley
time
on
to
that
make
stage when you're playing
Waluigi.
as Ridley?
Alfonso, obviously. And when Alfonso joins the battle, there's nobody, because no one can replace Alfonso.
Make Alfonso character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 2018.
See, that's my meme character
Smash.
choice. Alfonso.
Fair enough.
What if they bring it to the next console after Switch as if it's an iterative version like Street Fighter 4, Super, and Ultra? What are they going to call Smash Ultimate? Smash Ultimate Ultimate Edition? Why don't they call it Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 2? Or Super Smash Brothers
Ultimate Deluxe.
Super Smash Brothers Very Ultimate. Super Smash Brothers Super Ultimate.
Super Smash Ultimate.
Super Smash Brothers.
Keep the name.
Yep.
It's like Fortnite or Minecraft. It gets ported to every system, but people buy it anyway.
Yeah, do it like Minecraft.
And we all know we'd absolutely buy it again.
I'll buy it every single time, without a doubt.
Here's Super
add
Smash
something,
Bros.
don't.
Ultimate
I don't
for
care,
our
I'm
next
still buying it.
console. It's
It's
the same
Smash Brothers.
gameplay on the last console, except just for this console.
Yep, I'm
We
gonna
all
buy it
know what
again.
you guys have been saying.
That's all I
And
needed
we
to
brought
hear.
the same Smash Brothers to this 5th console.
And we added Goku.
No one.
I
We
guess.
added a TI-84.
As a playable character.
And Smash Brothers is also playable on the TI-84.
You guys
So
are getting off track.
Speaking
you are off track
of Super Smash
Logan.
Brothers, Sakurai has been talking about Super Smash Brothers in the future tense, saying it's like a tentpole franchise for Nintendo. Well, obviously. But he recognizes it as that. And he says when Nintendo approaches him about doing Super Smash Brothers, you know, that takes precedence. He feels it almost like he feels like he has to do it.
Pride's on the line.
Yeah.
When Nintendo asks him to.
That's how you know you got the right man there. Is like if when he wants to work on something else, but they ask him to make Smash, he understands the importance of that and he does it. That being said, Sakurai has made it public that in future Super Smash Bros. Iterations, there's a possibility the series can continue without him, which is what we want for him. So this is the direction I'd like to see it take. Not that I don't love Sakurai. It's just give the man a break. Let him go home.
Yeah.
And also,
Let him eat. Give him a cake.
long term, let's think about this. One day, Sakurai is going to die.
Don't.
Okay.
Shut your
you're
mouth,
a heathen,
Logan.
Logan.
It's like Zelda.
No longer allowed on this
Mario.
podcast anymore.
Those franchises will live on without Miyamoto because Miyamoto hardly has anything to do with them anymore, right?
The day we lose Charles Martinet, I will cry.
Okay, but Charles Martinet isn't designing the games.
But he is Mario.
We're all
Oh,
Mario.
Deep.
To me, the
Especially you,
biggest thing
Brandon.
about that news
Thank you.
is just that, like, it came from an article that was translated, I think, from Famitsu.
This is Sakurai's weekly column.
Yeah.
Probably recognizes from a personal standpoint that he can't do this forever. This is not a permanent thing, like Logan said. He won't be here forever. He's got to, he's got to pass the torch to someone. What?
He's dealing with his mortality. This makes it sound super dark. God, I can't make these games forever. Someday I'm gonna die.
He's on his last stock. Hey, man.
The end of the
Not quite that
conversation.
close, but
The last conversation he had with his team is like the darkest conversation. Half of his team commits suicide because.
No.
And honestly, realistically, we could die any day, right? It's always good to have a little bit of a backup,
plan.
right?
You're telling
plan
us to
to-
carry on without you. I hear you.
Dream Drop
Yeah,
says.
like if I die, you guys have full permission to rummage through all of my data, fix my
I'll delete your
my
browsing
hard
history, don't worry,
drive and
buddy.
get all the music off of there, and then give it to people who know what they're doing, and then make a killer posthumous album.
Can I have your keyboard?
No, I'm having it.
I haven't decided yet.
Okay,
It's
I can
still
play the
pretty
piano.
fresh. I'm too attached to it. Let's not think about that far in the future. Thank you.
Anyway.
He's like, you guys can thumb wrestle.
Dream Drop says, "Hey man, Sakurai is my father. I don't appreciate you talking about my dad dying. Okay,
But my dad's dead.
you're not. Get out of here, Dylan." Anyway, he's gonna upload his consciousness into an omnipresent AI at Nintendo servers to create Smash Forever.
Oh no.
It'd be a little more efficient, I'm sure. The server won't get tired. The server won't have problems with his hand.
So we got to move on from Smash, just because we'll talk about Smash Forever.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Nintendo Super Smash Bros. Stuff podcast.
We start a third podcast just for Smash.
The Super Smash Brothers Stuff podcast changes the series formula. CEO, what is his name? Tsunekazu Ishihara says, amongst those who have played the game, there may be some who feel like it changed. However, we've actually been continuously changing the formula for the game since the beginning, and in the end, the players have accepted those changes. And along those lines, this time we are also changing things around. But that's part of the long-standing tradition of Game Freak and the Pokemon series. We won't make mistakes with the basics, so please trust us. I think this was an incredibly well-said statement.
Oh, yeah.
Every Pokemon game has changed Pokemon going forward.
Yeah.
So seriously, like, relax. It's going to be fine. The reception at E3 to people who played it was great.
This
Wait
is
till you
like
play it.
been in the back of my head like this whole time. Like, they're not gonna mess up Pokemon, so quit crying.
They know
Like,
how to
you
do it.
don't-
They've been doing it
If
for
even
20
if you
years.
play it and you don't enjoy it, core Pokemon next year, just breathe.
That's not to say that this is not a core entry, because they consider it one, too.
They should. This is fantastic, and I love it.
So just relax. It'll be fine. Like Paul said, you'll get your Pokemon next year, but this is my Pokemon. Any thoughts on this, Logan?
This is our Pokemon.
Not really. I don't know. I think I fluctuate on my excitement for this game because I think most of it's still very up in the air. Like something looks exciting, but then I was like, well, it's lacking this, you know. Just a necessarily bad thing. I think it's going to take a little bit, maybe show off some more gameplay, and maybe for me to get my hands on a demo. Where's the demo, Nintendo?
Demo us.
They've
Like,
demoed
yeah.
like the last 3 Pokemon games on 3DS, so I think
yeah,
we'll get
I
one.
could see us getting another demo, and that's what
We're getting the demo on
I'd really like to
3DS?
see.
What?
So yeah, I mean the game comes out in less than 5 months. Be patient. We'll see what it's like. I'll buy it day one. I'm getting a copy for my wife too.
Somebody wants to give me $60. It'll make the decision a lot easier.
Buy it on Amazon, 20% off.
Buy it on Amazon.
Buy it on
Yeah,
Amazon. So
If you haven't checked it out yet, there's a
Super
whole
Smash
video
Bros.
talking about that discount
And
on
Zelda-
Amazon. You should go check it out.
Zelda Breath of the Wild 2.
yeah, check it out on the channel. Paul did a great video on how discounting games devalues them. It's a cool argument. Use some of that business insight information to
I'm
kind
about
of
to make
explain
a
that.
video about how discounts value games, because I disliked Paul's video.
Okay,
I'm gonna make a video about how Logan devalues videos.
This is one heck of a first episode, boys.
You're welcome.
So, also...
I'm no longer here.
Also in the Pokemon news, Niantic had a tech demo to show off that I thought was pretty cool. They're showing off the future of augmented reality. They're calling it codename Niantic Occlusion. So basically, they have like this demo with Pikachu and Eevee walking around in the real world like you'd see in Pokemon Go. Except this new technology allows them to intelligently go behind objects in the view of the camera, and I think that's super cool. Obviously, it looks really primitive right now, but this is a cool idea.
It's way better than before, where it just sits on top of everything.
These things always turn into something greater, something grander, something prettier, and eventually they'll master this technology. We'll get more technology in our phones like we do every year. The iPhone 10 with like the face tracking and the face mapping. I mean, all that stuff's just going to get better and better. And so there's going to be a point where it's almost indistinguishable from reality, and the only reason we know that it's not is because we're wearing, you know, some AR glasses to play Pokemon. But personally, like, this is like the most exciting thing ever, right? Because this would like cement Pokemon Go as like one of the greatest things that's ever happened to this world, right?
And that's not to say that this will be like specifically for Pokemon Go. They'll probably use it in Pokemon Go, but the possibilities extend beyond that.
Oh, absolutely. But could you imagine, instead of having to hold out and it's like, okay, here's some items, and then you scroll through your items with your hands, and like, okay, I got a Pokeball, and then you throw your Pokeball in real life. Like, that's what I want to do, right?
That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, we can look forward to that in the future. I don't think this is something that we'll be seeing anytime soon.
Our kids will be playing with it.
Yeah, it is definitely a prototype. So moving away from Pokemon, we got a little bit of Splatoon 2 news to talk. Team Pulp won the Splat.
I won Team Pulp, so I guess what? I won the Splat.
You know, I actually had no vested interest whatsoever, so I didn't really care what team I was on. But I'm glad to be on the winning team.
Oh, interesting. So I guess I'm the superior opinion here.
I think I've won like half of the Splatfest so far. I feel good about that because I didn't win a single Splatfest in Splatoon 1.
Oh, really?
I think I lost every single one of them, yeah.
How many did you play, like 5?
Between 5 and 10, probably.
Right.
So that's cool. Splatoon 2 will not get any more single-player premium content. And I was not expecting it to, so...
Yeah. I wasn't even expecting Octo expansion. Until it came, and then I was like, well, duh.
The more interesting facet of this piece of news was comes from Splatoon 2 producer Hisashi Nogami. He says... there is the possibility of multiplayer premium content. Let's see. He says we don't think of it... okay. First of all, there's a quote in reference to Nintendo Switch Online and how that affects Splatoon 2. He says, we don't think it will have no influence. We imagine it will have some sort of influence or effect by the addition of Switch Online. We want to use Nintendo Switch Online's addition as a way to redouble our commitment to the community and reaffirm for them that we're going to support this game more and more. And then when he's talking about the premium multiplayer content, he says the main thing they want to maintain is the even playing field for players. So if we do get multiplayer premium content, it will not be the kind of content that will be pay to win. It's not going to put any player in a significant advantageous position over another. Like, if you haven't bought the Octo expansion, you don't know a lot about the Octolings, you're just playing as an Inkling that, you know, it just looks like an Octoling, and they all play the same. You're not going to be better than someone else because you buy this.
The funny thing about this, though, is that, like, who's going to get that premium online service or content and not, like, if it's something that you get through, like, Switch Online, everybody's going to have it. Everybody that's able to play it online is going to have it. So... yeah, unless it's like paid out around that.
That's the way I thought it was being described. Is like you need Nintendo Switch Online to play Splatoon 2, but it's the influx of money and stuff from that will inspire them to develop more content for the game. So they're thinking about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if that actually does end up happening. But into what capacity? I don't really know. Could it just be cosmetic gear, or who knows?
Yeah, and when are they moving on to Splatoon 3?
Another set of dualies.
Not at least for another year.
Is Splatoon 2 the Splatoon for Nintendo Switch? Like, is that just the one, or will there be another one on the system? It's not clear yet.
We gotta wait 3 years for Splatoon 3 because it was 2 years in between Splatoon and Splatoon 2. So
I like the sound of that.
Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3.
You're right. I hope that they include some way to move your progression from the second game over to the third one whenever that does happen.
That also depends on how much the game changes.
Right.
You know?
True.
Obviously, the Splatoon 2 didn't evolve that much. But all they really need to do is just add content and add some variety to the weapons and stuff like that. So I don't know what they'll do to evolve it. It seems really well balanced, and it's a fun game anyway. Other than like adding different modes and expanding upon like the single player or something like that.
Yeah. Moving forward with Splatoon 2 news, there are 4 new weapons coming to the game tonight, I think, including a new stage. So yeah,
Yay!
a lot of content. So hop on Splatoon and get that stuff.
I gotta play more Splatoon.
Yeah, you do.
That broken sloshing machine from Salmon Run is one of the items we're getting for multiplayer. Yeah. So that's cool.
The really big one?
The one that would like plow through enemies, the Grisco slosher. It has a different name in multiplayer though.
Right. Dude, the Grisco weapons are so much fun though.
They're really powerful.
Yeah.
Little bit of Mario Kart 8 news. This actually came as a surprise to me. Mario Kart 8 is now compatible with the Nintendo Labo.
Now,
there's actually a different item somewhere else on the list that says that they're actually considering doing more of that.
I think it's beyond considering. I think it is a confirmation that they are.
Oh, wow. You know,
I'm cool with this. Like, give it more purpose.
I remember a bunch of people saying, like, they were making jokes about, like, oh, what if I could use this Labo thing for this game? And I was like, that sounds dumb as heck. But now that this has happened, it kind of makes a lot of sense.
It depends on the Labo kit.
It also depends on the functionality, but it adds value.
Here it is.
To Labo.
Nintendo says more of its games will be given Labo compatibility in the future.
So they are. There was a lot of people before the E3 Direct were saying that Yoshi was going to be reintroduced with Labo support because that game's made out of cardboard.
Right.
I don't want games to be given, like, I want Labo kits made for games. I'd rather that be something that's just like Mario Kart 8, where they had like the motorcycle. That makes perfect sense to give that support into Mario Kart 8.
The kit needs to stand alone.
Kind of direction they go. Yeah.
I don't imagine that they're going to cross over it too heavily because I don't think that'd be the smartest business move, and I also don't want a bunch of cardboard objects laying around my house.
Yeah. I do think it's a good move to give these things like more uses. It's like giving that motorcycle bit more use outside of just Toy-Con Garage.
That's really the thing. It's not about making a bunch of kits for a bunch of games that don't need it. It's about taking the pre-existing kits that have their own software that it depends on and finding different and creative ways to use these creations to modify experiences in their games. So, you know, obviously this gives kids an option to be like, I'm going to play Mario Kart, but then I'm going to drift, right? And I'm going to move around. And that's a really good feeling, especially if you're younger. And that's what this is aimed at. So, again, it adds value to the Switch. It adds value to Mario Kart 8. It adds value to Labo. Like, this is kind of a no-brainer. This kind of just makes a whole lot of sense. And it's not like they had to spend, like, a lot of money to do it. It's just like, okay, you got to factor for this and then just update the game. And, okay, cool. We can just put out a little trailer and it's going to get, you know, 300. Oh, that's that. The 647,000 views in like 4 days.
That's a lot for a Labo trailer for Mario Kart.
Robot Kit
Right.
controller for control scheme for Smash Brothers confirmed. At the very least, like, I'd take it for Punch Out. Like, that'd be the coolest thing to actually, like...
I'd play Punch Out like that. That'd be fun. Or Deus Ex Machina. I could even see...
is this just
Deus Ex
the
Machina.
right...
Damon Ex Machina.
Okay, and it looks like... I'm looking at this here and trying to decipher what's going on. And it looks like you can play, like, on the TV with just the controller in, like, the cardboard construction.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a slot for the Switch, but you don't have to play any of the Toy Cons like that.
Right.
Except for the house. I think the house is the one that you do have to play like that.
Right. Yeah.
Happy Home Designer confirmed.
Yeah. So that's cool. I'm interested in seeing how they kind of develop this going forward, some of their other games.
Yeah.
We're certainly not starved for games with, like, intuitive, like, input methods, because we have Starlink coming out in October. A lot of products of the Wii era seem to be reintroducing themselves to the market in a much better way.
Much more creative way. Less that it's we're trying to take your money, and more like we're being thoughtful and also trying to make something cool.
To backpedal on Pokemon CEO Tsunekazu Ishihara, he was not super down with the Switch before it came out. He didn't think it was going to sell all that well. Well, he changed his mind, mostly because he was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that he thought this, too, and I'll read his quote really quick. He says, "I don't know if this has the ability to persuade the people who said a year ago that the Nintendo Switch wouldn't sell," he laughs, "but up until that point, a machine that integrated both handheld functionality and a home console was unheard of. So to be honest, it was hard to know how it would sell," said Ishihara. "I didn't see it selling. However, the overwhelming fun of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild made it popular. I think that had a big impact." I think he's right.
Definitely.
The Wii U, I think, would have been much more successful if it had launched with a game as impactful as Breath of the Wild.
That killer app, though.
And Wii U has Breath of the Wild on it.
Yeah, but
it was like the last major thing to come to it, though.
Switch is like what everybody wanted the Wii U to be.
Yeah.
Definitely an evolution of that idea.
Right. So instead of like, oh, that panned out, you know.
For those of you watching, I apologize if we're having any internet trouble, because I'm watching and we're having a lot of internet trouble right now. But Comcast, if you haven't heard, is having a nationwide outage today because one of their fiber lines got cut.
Classic.
As far as I know, they're working on that, and it should be improving, but for like 10, 20 seconds, we were having zero upload at all. So, sorry about that.
Yeah, so after this podcast happens, we're doing another podcast on the conspiracy as to why Comcast purposefully cut their internet lines to control the flow of free speech in America.
Net neutrality lies, Melody Warp says. Welcome. Can someone make him a mod?
I think so.
Where were we at? We were talking about Pokemon CEO. Speaking of CEOs, Shuntaro Furukawa is now the president of Nintendo. Today was his first day, I think. So claps for Furukawa. Interested in seeing how he changes Nintendo, being the second, well, I guess now the third, if you count Kimishima, the third president who is not part of the Yamauchi family line of Nintendo CEOs.
So when does he get inaugurated?
I think that was today, like legitimately.
Oh, so yeah, is he officially
the news
CEO
article
now?
was that he is now, I think it was yesterday actually. When it was said Furukawa is now the president of Nintendo, like he's now the president of Nintendo.
He is the president of Nintendo.
So now that he's president, so he's
new dad.
I wonder what his first big move's gonna be. I'll tell you what I think his first big move's gonna be. He's gonna order the development of Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival 2.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I completely agree.
Get out of here. Anyway, this next topic is a little controversial. It is an opinion piece on Nintendo Enthusiast. It says, "Is Sony responsible for bringing Nintendo and Microsoft together?"
No.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stand on this.
No. But it does make for some fun jabs at Sony.
It was
right?
it was a good strategic play.
Yeah. No, Microsoft, they bought Minecraft knowing full well what they were going to do with it. They're like, this is not going to be an Xbox exclusive. This is a platform in and of itself. And the best thing we can do for this platform is to get everybody to be able to play no matter what you're playing on. And so since Sony doesn't want that, they don't like that, they're like, okay, well, we're going to team up with Nintendo, and it's going to be like, wait, Microsoft and Nintendo are buddy-buddy.
But quickly,
hey guys, let's play Minecraft together.
Is that less that like it was a direct result of it, but more of like a you have the big giant Sony, and then you have like two smaller guys, and it was less of a planned thing. But like when you see the big guys kind of bah humbug about it, like give a little jab to them and come together.
Yeah.
Well, Sony is now
that trailer without Sony be like their attitude on the whole situation. Would we have?
Sony is now exploring opportunities for crossplay. By the way,
good.
They heard. I mean, they listen.
This is what happens in any market, any industry. Is a bunch of people are doing this one thing and
they're going to get bullied into it. That's what's going to happen.
Well, they're going to get bullied into it because people aren't going to put up with it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So
we've established a new standard.
Yeah. So all this stuff with like Fortnite and not being able to carry over your information if you're on PS4, like
they're
that's
actually
frustrating.
Wasting people's money by doing that too.
Yeah, it's really dumb, right?
And anti-consumer.
Yeah. So I mean, crossplay is very pro-consumer, right? Because if we had crossplay for Monster Hunter World, and it comes to PC, I could still play with all my friends on PS4. If I just got the PC version.
And
right?
we got friends on Xbox that we couldn't play with, and that would have solved that issue too.
Yeah, and so being able to have this kind of stuff is very like, oh well, I have more choices that I can make. So I have a little bit more control over how I consume. And
I think it would also change the face of the console war too. I mean, it already is.
Well,
I mean,
Microsoft
from
and Nintendo.
I don't mean from a company standpoint. I mean from like a consumer perception standpoint. I think a lot of the reason that people like push their consoles is because this is the console I own. So obviously I want the games to be on my console so I can play them, and I want my friends to buy this console too, so I'm going to say why I think this console is better. Well, now all the consoles can play together, so what's the point of arguing?
Yeah. Well, and again, like
Nintendo's better.
It's another reason to go over to Xbox, to go over to Nintendo, because they are allowing crossplay for these titles, it's huge.
Yeah.
And then I can feel compelled to, buy a title twice on two different platforms. I own Rocket League on Switch and on PC, and well, I could play it either. If I do, I usually play it on my Switch because I think it's better with a controller. But yeah, even with like Fortnite, so these are some of the biggest like multiplayer games that are you can play on your Switch, you can play on your Xbox, you can play with your friends. It doesn't matter what you play on, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the modern age, the modern information age. So more of this. So if doing all of this is getting Sony to change their tune, I think it's an inevitability that they eventually will allow cross-play. How long they will hold out, I am not sure. They will hold out as long as they think it's the best business move and it's making them the most money.
They're definitely hitting a boiling point now, though.
Yeah, and especially with Microsoft offering all these different services and then announcing all these different first-party things. I feel like they're doing kind of a boomerang that PS3 did in the last generation, So I don't know how much they'll catch up, or if they will ever catch up. The PS3 eventually did catch up and surpassed the Xbox 360 by a little bit. And in this industry, I wouldn't count anything out, because it could swing any which way, especially with how aggressive Microsoft's being, really aggressive in the best way possible. Right? It's competition. They're even talking about their next gen console, and it's like, okay, we just had the Xbox One X, which already displays native 4K, and so like if most of these consoles are just getting more powerful and powerful, Xbox is getting ahead, and yeah, Sony kind of has to start making concessions to remain in the good graces of the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. After that, we should move on.
Yeah.
For those of you who like Yoshi, you might have noticed that Yoshi was not at E3 this year, and that's because it's not done yet. So, Bill Trinan confirmed, and this is a quote directly from him, he says it's actually been making really good progress. They decided they wanted to make some improvements, so they're going to take just a little bit more time on it, and that's why we're not showing it this year at the show, but I think you can look forward to some updates later in 2018.
They're still working on that Labo.
And this happened with Yoshi's Woolly World. Yoshi's Woolly World was introduced to us in a Nintendo Direct, and then disappeared off the face of the earth for like a year and a half.
I mean, when have we ever seen that before?
So
it happens all the time.
This is not going to be vaporware. This game's going to come out. I don't think it's going to look as vastly different as Woolly World version 1 did to Woolly World version 2.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to mention, like, I love Nintendo's like willingness to give their devs more time. You know?
Yeah.
Like, hey man, don't rush, make a good product. And because they do that across the board, it's really easy for them to, one, they're in the habit of it, and two, we already have so many good games because so many good games have been delayed under the radar, saying like, okay, this is what we're projecting, but we're not going to announce any date, and we're just going to let it come when it comes. And then obviously we get games that are a few years late, like Breath of the Wild, but that's okay, because I'd rather have that game a few years late than the game that it would have been, you know, a few years early. So the fact that it's like, oh, it's another title and we're gonna sit on it for a little bit longer, and then we're gonna give you much better of an experience. I feel like Nintendo's like one of the only companies that does that anymore. A lot of the times it's like, okay, well, it's mostly finished, but there's all these bugs, but we'll just
patch them.
Patches.
I would take a polished game 3 months later than a unfinished game right now any day. So,
yeah,
good news. And I love Yoshi, and actually was really impressed with the E3 demo from last year. So I'm willing to wait. This year's already stacked. I'm good. Take as much time as you need. Next story is a little funny. So piracy has been in the news with Switch lately, but Paul, you posted this one in the Asana, and I was glossing over it for a few seconds there, and it made me laugh. So
oh yeah, this one's kind of, I've seen it, like, the story just keeps going on. Like, I think today the company that did this actually commented on it, and I didn't read what their justification was, but like,
so there's a new payware available on Nintendo Switch that allows users to pirate games. A vulnerability researcher found a line of code in this program that can cause it to break the system. In an epic twist of irony, this comes from a Nintendo enthusiast, the code is present due to it being an anti-piracy measure. That's right, the developers of the piracy tool don't want people to pirate their own creation. What?
That's kind of like, it's such an amazing story, and I had to sit there.
I love it.
And like, I read the title 5 times before I start. Like, I never got it from just like the headline. It wasn't until I read it that I understood like what was going on.
That's so funny.
It's so ridiculous.
It is really ridiculous. Nintendo's own piracy measures for their system has been great. Knowing that it's bricking systems is a good thing. But holy cow, what a funny story. So we're a piracy software, so you can use us to pirate other games. But if you pirate us, we don't like that.
Bricked.
Just wow.
You did skip over a piece of news, though.
Did I skip over some news?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
The NES Mini is back in stock today.
Oh yeah, that.
And actually, I'm genuinely impressed about this because not only was I able to pre-order one, I pre-ordered two. The first time, like it took me a while to actually locate one at Best Buy. I finally got the chance to pre-order. They said it was gonna like ship out in like July 20th. And so later on, I saw that GameStop had them back up, and I was able to pre-order from them, and I'll have it, I think, next week.
I'm impressed that Nintendo was like, oh, people still want this. Okay, I think at a later date we'll start producing more.
Oh, I gotta tell a story now that you reminded me of this. So I'm part of a buy, trade, and sell group on Facebook that's specifically for retro games. And today, a post showed up. A guy was offering a complete in-box, unopened Super Nintendo Classic Edition. And he wanted a full, like, you know, high-price trade for, like, a complete PS3 with a couple sealed games. And like every single comment on it was like, dude, you can buy these in store for $80. There's no one's going to take this offer.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's the beautiful thing is I love we have enough of something where you don't have to feed the scalpers, you know? Don't feed the scalpers.
Yeah, that's what, you know, like I did that video a long time ago on the Zelda Master Edition. You know, I didn't end up getting it, but I made sure to make take a moment in there to tell people to not buy into scalpers, because if you do that, they win, and it encourages their practice.
Yeah. It's one thing. It's one thing if you buy several and collect, and at a later date you sell it. It's another to buy in bulk just to resell it immediately, just
to make a profit.
To make a profit.
That's the thing about this, that I was happy that they finally got to a point where they were able to release it and not have it bought up instantaneously, at least online, by scalpers.
Today is a win for, you know, fans, I guess, collectors.
Yeah.
Today's a win. So
I mean, because with Nintendo Switch Online, like I didn't feel as necessary to get it, but it was something that, like, I have the SNES Classic now. I want NES Classic to, you know, kind of complete the collection. If they make more of this, I want more of them. I will take more of them. It's not something that I need, but it is something that I want.
If they are making another one, it would likely be announced in the next couple weeks. Just gonna throw that tidbit out there.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, but thankfully, a lot of the times I feel this kind of thing as often as we might in the past, especially when it comes to like games or something like that, because of digital distribution. It's just like you can infinitely replicate, you know, whatever you need just on the fly. You don't need material to do that, but obviously you can't do that so much for these little boxes that they're producing. So it's good to see that they're producing more.
Talking about digital distribution, Reggie commented on Nintendo Switch Online, and he says it will allow you to connect to legacy content in a meaningful way. I think this is to reaffirm to consumers that Nintendo Switch Online's legacy content will not be limited to NES, that it's going to grow, include other systems, and that the virtual console that you come to expect will be here, just under a different name and a different, you know, model.
It'll take time, but it will be there.
Yeah, we're gonna get Game Gear games.
Definitely Game Gear games.
And then I take my Joy-Con and I pass it. Wow, Brandon.
Okay. I didn't know what to do with that, really.
Sorry. I forgot where I was, so that's my...
Oh, if I had a Joy-Con to, like, hold, I would have, like, done the thing with that. Anyway.
We'll have to rehearse.
We'll rehearse it for next time.
Next time that's going to be what that is. You know, you pass the controller.
Yeah. Let's see. Reggie Fils-Aimé hints at potential future crossovers with other studios. I think this was kind of a given. It's kind of cool to, you know, hear him say that.
Twice with Ubisoft.
We've got Star Fox and Starlink. That's awesome. I'm actually really excited for that game. The E3 reactions to that game have been quite positive. So yeah, I'm glad, because Nintendo's crossovers have been very successful thus far, with great ideas, new ways to interact with their IP. I love it. Give me more.
Yeah.
And this all kind of started with like Pokemon Conquest on DS like a million years ago, and it's just been growing faster and faster ever since. What else do we have? Oh, this was an interesting story. Statistics for Nintendo Switch playtime have been measured, and apparently docked and undocked mode come at about even.
It makes a lot of sense to me, because you have a lot of people that like play exclusively handheld. There are people that play exclusively docked, and so it different play styles will balance out.
Where do you guys kind of stand on that spectrum?
I'm definitely mostly docked. I like playing my games on my couch. And a lot of the experiences I like having on my Switch are larger experiences that I like playing handheld. So, I mean, I imagine that it must be game to game as well, right? That a lot of smaller titles that are more mobile oriented, shorter experiences must be a lot better handheld than trying to play something as intensive as like Splatoon 2, you know, in
I
mobile,
would not. Right? I would not play Splatoon 2 handheld.
It's not. That's something that like don't work as well as mobile, right?
Or the Pro Controller, but never handheld.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really that's the beauty of the Switch, right? We were all like, oh, you can take it on the go, and you just find what's right for you. If you want to sit on the couch playing some RPG, just staring into your Switch screen, then that's cool. And if nobody's using the TV, you pop it up on the TV, and there you go.
And I think the biggest thing about this story is that Nintendo has proven their concept. This is something people want.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say, like, me personally, when I first got it, I played Breath of the Wild docked, and then after that, like, I ran out of room for my dock, and so I played the vast majority of my games from like April to December handheld.
Because you played Super Mario Odyssey mostly handheld too, right?
Yeah, it was kind of awful.
You should try that again, docked.
Yeah, I want to. I got plenty left. I only put 50
throw
hours.
your hat and you accidentally like threw your Switch.
I didn't do that. I learned to play it like with all the button commands. I didn't do motion controls.
Right.
And that puts you at a pretty big disadvantage
I
too.
didn't use motion.
Yeah.
I used motion controls with the Pro Controller because they're fairly simple to pull off with that.
Right.
But they gave you a big advantage. Yeah, moving the whole system, that's a problem. So yeah, that's kind of cool to see from Nintendo. This is one thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, and I'm glad that Reggie brought this up. Let me load the article really quick. But
Daddy Reggie.
Nintendo Reggie believes catering to disabled gamers is an industry issue. Let's see. He says, so I'll answer this in two parts. I don't even remember what the original question is. Anyway, one, the conversation around accessibility is significant, and it's happening at the highest levels of the company from the development standpoint in terms of how do we make sure that every player who wants to engage with our product can, so it's a huge topic. The other piece I'd say is I was over at the Microsoft booth yesterday, and we had some hands-on time with the adaptive controller, and this is an area where I believe it's in the best interest of the industry to have the conversation and to think about the longer-term solutions, because this is not. I would argue this really isn't a platform-specific issue. It's an industry issue of how do we make sure that our content and the ability to play our content is as inclusive as possible. I love everything about what Reggie's saying here. It almost sounds to me like he wants the industry to come together and come up with a global solution and global solutions that can work across platforms. I love this because every time I see like a new adaptive controller, it warms my heart to know that these people are being remembered and that they're being catered to. All kinds of people play games.
Yeah. Just having like disable, accessible, like interfaces for like any sort of technology is super important, right? Because we live in a tech age, so people who have disabilities, they need to be able to use these things too, right? And that's huge when you can give somebody a tool that allows them to do things themselves, and allows them to do things that they wouldn't have been able to do before.
I think like with video games too, especially, like it's one of the greatest things that you can share with someone, because it's such a great community building thing.
Yeah.
Like, look at Smash Brothers and how amazing that is. I couldn't imagine my life without Smash Brothers. That's something that I want to share with everyone. If there's something that would keep someone from experiencing something like that, you know, we should find a way to, you know, give that experience to them.
I always go back to this, but in the Brawl days when I was, you know, participating in those Smash tournaments at the local library, there was this one kid who didn't have control over most of his body. He had control over one hand, and he still played Brawl competitively. He had a custom configuration for his GameCube controller. Like, it was really cool too. Like, his special attacks were like mapped to his C stick. It was really something to behold. And he could play Smash just like the best of them could. It was incredible to see. So, you know, we need to give people as many opportunities to play as we can, because it can be done.
And it's also important that, you know, even, you know, Reggie is having this conversation. He's vocally saying that everybody else needs a conversation, because it tends to, in a free market capitalistic society, things that aren't profitable don't get much attention, right? That's why we have like government services. So products that cater to a minority disabled audience, those, they're not that marketable. They're not that, like, they're not going to make a ton of profit. And
there's not a global solution too. This is a case by case kind of thing, where time and money has to be developed into every person with an issue. Right. Or disability.
I think it's getting easier with things like the advent of 3D printing.
Yeah.
And so I think those things will just get better and easier and more accessible with time, just based on the fact that we can design things and create them on the fly. But I'm glad that this conversation is being had, because this isn't something that I thought about, like, at all. Other than, like, honestly, when they Microsoft revealed that
adaptive controller.
Yeah, the adaptive controller. It's like, I've known people with like certain physical deformities and stuff like that, but they were never terribly disabled, and they could do most anything that anybody else can do with whatever thrown at them.
This is the kind of thing, like, you don't think about it until you're the one in the position who can't play a game because of your disability.
Yeah.
So, like, Paul, I think you might even remember this story. It was a pretty big deal. There was a guy who was blind, who like spent like 3 years, I think, trying to beat Ocarina of Time. And he did it with the help of the community. Like, the community told him, you know, you have to walk this many steps this way, hold the control stick for this many seconds, press this button at this time. And after years of working at it, the community and him together, they managed to beat Ocarina of Time. So,
which is such an incredible story, you know?
Yeah, I think about it pretty frequently.
It's communal. Like, gaming is a communal experience.
The full circle. We just went full circle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like watching, you know, SGDQ. You know, it's a bunch of people gathering around one other person, and this person wants to beat a game really fast, and everybody else is like, oh my gosh. And you want to talk about something that's communal. Speedrunning's all about the community. It's all about, hey, I found this new shortcut or this new glitch, and if you want to add it to your run, like, here's how you do it. And then all of a sudden you find the people who have gathered the most information, the most pertinent information, and who have spent the most time practicing the execution, you know, of this information into something that's like, how did you do that so quickly? But then that they do that for breakfast.
You
Right?
you made me think, you know, speedrunning might be like the most healthy community in gaming that there is right now.
It's really wholesome.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome. Because it's like you're competing against each other, but then you're also like looking at somebody and you're just copying them, and everybody's okay with that. Because
And
just
we'll
like,
actually,
okay, well, maybe you can.
I want to. We will talk a lot more about this next week because we have a speedrunner that was at SD. So I always have to like stop and think about
SGDQ.
Yeah.
AGDQ, SGDQ.
He was actually on the couch during the Master Spy run, so we'll be able to talk to him about that. And it sounds like he's had a lot of like really great experiences there. So look forward to that next week.
You talk about you know, community, and I remember during the I think it was the interview with Obi Dobi, he was saying that our guest was actually giving him some tips and telling him some things that he didn't even know about, and he was the one running the game on you know, on the couch. So
yeah.
it really is. It's a wholesome community, and that's the kind of community that I think we'll see fostered with the disabled community for gaming, as we've already seen, like with the Zelda player and the Brawl player I knew growing up.
Oh yeah, and there's even like you know, icons within the gaming industry, smaller icons within the gaming industry. Like Steven Spawn, who is disabled himself. I think he has MS. It's pretty advanced at this point. But that's what he's dedicated his life to. It's like all this is disabled people who haven't been in the spotlight before, who haven't been paid attention to, made it his.
You got cut out for like that whole last part.
Disabled gamers, let's cater more to them, and there's really cool people out there who are making it happen.
Let's take advantage of that technology and make it happen. Moving forward, a little more Nintendo news. Nintendo says no news on game streaming. It would require a very Nintendo approach. You can kind of you can feel that out. You know what that means. Like, it's not going to come unless it has that Nintendo stamp of weirdness on top of it.
If they can't do it right, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I respect about Nintendo. If they can't do it right, they're not going to do it.
That didn't stop them from voice chat. But still, I digress.
They still haven't figured that out, so I mean...
Yeah, so that's not to say that I don't think this is going to happen eventually. I think it will. Just, again, not until they how to use on partnership with Nintendo and state of the video game industry. Paul, let me let you take the lead on this one.
I actually don't remember this one. Let me...
Oh, no, I put you into a bad spot. I put you between a Barack and a hard place.
Yeah, I was just picking headlines, you know? It sounded good.
Hey, Barack Obama's in Shaq Fu now, by the way.
Oh,
yeah,
hey.
I kind of love that.
It's amazing.
I didn't anticipate something like this, but I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And he's got that line. You're stuck between a Barack and a hard place.
Prominent black figures in Shaq Fu.
Former President Barack Obama. Kanye's in there. Spelled differently.
I actually think this is just... It's pretty... I think we had this last week.
Did we?
I don't know why I put it here because it's
Is this a story again?
Elaborates more on his like health of the industry, but he's talking about Miyamoto and how they're big fans of Miyamoto. So it's the same. We talked about this, yeah.
Okay, well, let's skip
They're
forward.
big fans of Miyamoto and they learn a lot.
Let's see. Fortnite's got the Playgrounds update, and then it was immediately removed from the game again because it wasn't working right. So, for those of you who don't know what the Playgrounds update is basically a game mode that is super non-competitive, and it allows you to learn the game. You can build. You're in there with your friends. The storm doesn't show up for like an hour, I think, like a really absurd number. So basically, it's a hey, go have fun.
I was really confused by that second headline because it's like, hey, this is out. Hey, it's been cut. And then like I had to stop and read the article immediately.
Yeah, they were having like some severe matchmaking issues with it, so they had to bop it out. But it's coming back when it's ready.
Yeah, I respect them for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is why Nintendo Switch Online hasn't launched yet, because they don't want to press the button and then it to be a garbage fire. I was listening to Nintendo Dads, and they made a pretty good point. You know, you have Smash launching in December, but the Switch Online launches in September. That gives Switch Online several months to get the kinks worked out before Smash is there and ready. You don't want those two things to happen at the same time. You don't want Smash to release and then Online to be broken at launch.
Yeah, no, having I mean, there's already enough content for, you know, Nintendo to deal with, right?
Mario Tennis Aces.
So, yeah, well, and then already existing, you know, services. You
Sports
know,
Team 2.
So being able to scale that
over.
and anticipate need to make sure that Ultimate launches smoothly online.
They did a great job with Mario Tennis Aces. They had that tournament beta, allowing people to play online. The online was very broken, and by the time it launched, they had completely fixed it. I was actually shocked at how much improved it was by the time it came out. So good on them. And hopefully Epic gets everything figured out, and they'll be in good shape. Moving on, where are we at? Reggie on why indie games sell best on Nintendo Switch.
A lot of good sound bites this week.
Reggie's just been on fire. Well, it's that week after E3, man. Lots of interviews. He says, in the end, I believe the reason that the independent developer is saying that their games are selling best on Switch is because of, in total, that environment we're creating. Consumers are highly engaged. Consumers are looking for this content, and the activity that we're doing and will continue to do to help consumers find this great content. To me, that's a bunch of nothing, but the real point is that indies are selling really well on Nintendo Switch.
Indies
there were
really
two
well
notes
on
above
Switch.
that, and it was that West of Loathing devs are thrilled by the initial sales, and Hollow Knight was selling exceptionally well. And that is just very reassuring for me to hear. Like,
It's the perfect console for small games. One, you're not getting much of a visual difference with some of these games between, you know, releases on different platforms.
The disparity is much less than it used to be on other Nintendo systems.
with you.
Yeah, and that's
playing
that's the
right
kicker. Is the
now.
fact that it's like, okay, I can play it on my TV, but then I can go other places and play it. Why would I get it on my PS4 when it looks exactly the same? And I could take this with me, right?
Yeah.
Go indie developers selling copies.
And I think this is something we kind of already knew, because for a while, you know, indie developers have been saying how well their games have been selling on the system. And then you have exclusive Nindies. I love the idea of Nindies, indie games that launch exclusively on Switch. Golf Story is one of my favorite indie games in recent memory. Also,
no,
because
I do hope that Golf Story gets a release elsewhere eventually.
It could, and I'm not saying that it won't, but it's nice that it's there and that Nintendo does have some exclusives.
Yes.
It's helping fulfill that library. Yeah, and that actually wraps up the news. That's all the newsy type stuff.
Snap.
A quick topic that I wanted to mention, an article done by IGN.
It's a little bit old, but it was an interesting article.
It's important. Developers say that Twitch streaming is hurting single-player games. People are not going out and buying single-player games because they're watching their favorite streamers play it, and then thus don't feel the need to play the game themselves after the fact.
I don't know how true this is. I'd like to see some empirical evidence.
Yeah, I don't really believe it personally.
The other half of this is that when you so games like Fortnite are kind of evergreen in a sense, in that people are going to keep playing them. There isn't like beating the story and then being done. So you continually push, like you continually get free marketing for these games. Essentially, games like God of War, people eventually do everything, and there is a point where you're just done with it. And so at first, when it first came out, like everybody was streaming it like crazy, but it slows down and eventually stops. There's not probably near as many people streaming it now as there was then. And so it causes developers to say, well, hey, we can get this free marketing if we make a game that's more community based like Fortnite.
Something that doesn't leave the public eye.
yeah, we're going to get this free marketing if we make something like this. And so from a business standpoint, it makes more sense because Twitch is fueling this to make more or multiplayer games versus a single player game.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the concern, but I feel like the industry has grown so much that there's so much room for both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when they say that it's hurting single player games, like what's your definition of hurting single player games? It's not like I'm gonna go up and stab a physical cartridge and look, I hurt this physical game. Like, how are you hurting singles? Are we just making less? Are we making so little that there's just are none? That's not true, because there's tons of single player games, tons of great single player games still that sell fantastically. So I'm more confused by this statement.
I think they're losing more of a casual audience in the Twitch streaming community, because that's become pretty big in today's generation of kids. But I don't think all those kids are actually gamers, like in the first place. No. So I think we need some hard numbers to really get a good look at it.
Too was saying that like single player experiences aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, and I don't ever believe they will. As long as indie developers exist, we'll never lose single-player games.
Yeah.
I do want to say in this article they had some numbers on God of War in particular.
I couldn't get the load.
300,000 viewers on Twitch at its first week. It quickly became one of the most viewed games on YouTube too, but it is still behind older games like Fortnite and Minecraft that have evolving content and multiplayer components. The reason multiplayer dominates on those services is really just because once a content creator has finished a single player game, there's no reason for audiences to watch them play the same thing over again. In April this year alone, 33,000 about Fortnite were uploaded, and the fastest growing YouTube channels are focused entirely on that game.
This is why the speedrunning community is doubly important.
Yeah. I mean, they also mentioned cases like Persona 5, where like you couldn't stream that game. There was such like strict rules that like
Atlas,
and like do that if you're worried about it. Like
and
it's not the death of it. It's just that, like, from a business perspective, there's less incentives to now because of Twitch.
Here's what I'll say. If Twitch is going to kill single player games, my biggest question is, why didn't YouTube? Right? So it's the same thing, right? Oh, we don't want to play the single player game because we watched it online and there's no reason to replay it. YouTube would have done that a long time ago. So it's the same. I think it's the same thing, and YouTube even more so because it's VOD. It's not just streaming, right?
YouTube's an interesting case though, because gaming on YouTube actually didn't really become that big of a thing until like the last 5 or 6 years. It's a recent kind of upswing in viewership for games. Thank you for subscribing, OmniRock. So, when did Twitch launch? I need to know that. Because if those two things happened around the same time, YouTube's influence might not mean as much. Not that it won't mean anything. When did Twitch launch?
June 6, 2011.
Okay, so that kind of fits the time frame I was kind of thinking. So those two things, I think.
When did PewDiePie get big? Because he got big on gaming. That was kind of like during the rise.
I think it was during that time period. I think these things evolved together. Because gaming on YouTube wasn't big back when Paul and I started our YouTube channel. It was not.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's like the flagship YouTube content.
Right.
So I think we're going to need like another 5 to 10 years before we can really look at this and say this is what's going to happen.
I would say I agree with that. I say give it more time to see what actually happens, and then at that time, like, start writing some numbers down now.
Yeah.
Right. Keep track of these numbers. Somebody's got to be doing it.
Well, they were for God of War.
Right. So keep all these numbers, compare them to what they were doing and how everything's changed, and then we can figure out, is Twitch a problem.
I think another interesting thing with this is, like, if you look at Breath of the Wild,
yeah,
everybody had a different approach to how they were going to beat that game. That's something you could go from content creator to content creator and still probably be just as entertained, because you don't know what order they're going to do things or what they're going to do next.
It's also the best-selling Zelda game, so
for a reason.
It's a very non-linear approach. Allows for a more community-driven experience. Those first few weeks of Breath of the Wild being out were some of the most magical moments I've had in gaming in my 24 years on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's also, like, still really active. Like,
well, it's got
a
huge speedrunning community. People are still playing the game for the first time. It's like Skyrim. I don't think it has as much content as Skyrim, but it's going to have that kind of legacy.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start releasing it on refrigerators.
Speedrunning some of those
TI-84s.
The, what do you call it? It's the shrines.
Yeah.
Like some of the skips are just absolutely insane, that they're kind of like, okay, we're gonna like totally like break you know, everything about the physics engine.
Not only is Breath of the Wild in itself like super non-linear, but it also allows for different types of speed runs. So many different types of speed runs that that community is going to be healthy for a long time.
Well, I want to say, like, in relation to this, it's not like single player experiences are going to go anywhere. They might change in response to Twitch.
Oh yeah, they might,
but they're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
and also, like, if with that kind of like mindset, you know, indie games wouldn't exist. Having that like whole like 8-bit style wouldn't be a thing now. There's a lot of things that would have died out because, you know, factors like this.
That's why I say that single player games will never die, with indie games being a thing now. Indie developers, their purpose is to fulfill those needs in the gaming market that aren't fulfilled by those big companies. You have games like Shovel Knight that come out, which is a classic, like, super tight 8-bit style platformer. That kind of game wasn't going to exist without Yacht Club being there to fulfill the need.
There's always room for tight, rigid stories, right? So
They'll never go away.
Even if you could make a single a multiplayer game that was so seamless that you didn't even realize that it was multiplayer, even if that was the case, there's always room for tight, rigid narrative because there's an appeal to it. And that's why single player games exist, or sometimes they don't.
Three of my most anticipated games in the future are Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, and The Last of Us Part 2, all three single-player games.
Yep.
Single-player games define my childhood.
Don't forget the best single-player game ever, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Right, the best single-player game.
Why would I want to play with people? What friends would I play multiplayer games with? It's not like I don't know, do you have any with friends, you know?
I started playing Hollow Knight when I got it like a week ago. And I would have kept playing it, but I think, Logan, I was waiting to play GTA with you, so my time got cut off. But like within my first 30 minutes of Hollow Knight, I hadn't been that engrossed like in a single-player game that quickly. And I don't know how long. I was surprised at how fast it got its teeth in me. So like single-player games, they're here to stay.
Still in indies, woo!
But multiplayer games are great too. Don't get us wrong.
No, I mean, obviously, like our most anticipated, well, my most anticipated game of this year is Super Smash Brothers, by far.
The second place, though.
Get your GameCube controllers.
I only pre-ordered 3. What?
I got to go to GameStop and get my bundle pre-ordered.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, because I'm going to do mine in store. Any Nintendo games you guys have played this week before we finish up today?
Splatoon
2. We played.
I played a tiny bit of Splatoon, but it's mostly been PC games the last week or two.
We'll talk about that in the breakdown.
Yeah, we will. When is the breakdown?
Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time.
Monday at 7:30.
What?
But I wasn't done talking about my games.
Oh.
No one cares.
Like I said, I started playing Hollow Knight, and I'm really into that. I love the way that game feels from a combat perspective. I wasn't expecting to like it that much. Logan, you and I had a blast playing Samurai Gun with Josiah that one time.
Uh-huh.
That's the combat in this game.
Oh.
Like aside,
Logan's bought it already.
like except for like the gun play, because as far as I know, there's no projectiles. But like you jump and you press a direction, you hit the button, and the sword comes out, and it feels just like Samurai Gun to me, but maybe even a little tighter. So I was like instantly into it.
You just reminded me. So next time we all hang out,
we're playing Samurai Gun. Yeah.
We gotta play Samurai Gun.
Play that summon.
We can play it on my Steam Link in the basement. We'll get Josiah over. We'll have a good time. And then Paul, you and I played Splatoon 2, and we were actually kind of kicking butt. We were doing a good job.
I think it's because there was a person that wasn't on our team.
Don't you dare go there.
That's not what you're thinking, Logan.
Paul Anderson. Don't diss me.
There was also a lack of stress from being on stream. But we played with Josiah and our friend Max, and Max is actually really new to Splatoon 2. He bought it because of the Octo expansion. That was the reason he bought the game.
The Octo expansion.
That's why he bought it. Like, that Octo expansion was that appealing to him. It is, except it was too hard for him because he's never played Splatoon.
Well, hopefully we helped him get better at it during the Splat.
Yeah. As far as team play goes, that's the best I've done in Splatoon 2 squads in a long time, and it felt really good. Like, I felt like we had it down. What's up, Conman? You actually come right at the end of the show. You're like the Kool-Aid man after the commercial's over. Oh, yeah. Where'd everyone go?
Oh, yeah.
How goes it, fellow workers? Oh, we're doing good, man. First inaugural episode. Well, the inaugural episode of Nintendo Stuff Podcast.
First inaugural works too. It's just a bit redundant.
Yeah.
That's about all I did in the Nintendo sphere this week. I do want to play some more Hollow Knight because that game is fantastic, and I highly recommend it.
I want to try it.
It's really good.
I'll probably space it out over a certain time because I don't know if I have 30 hours to put into it like right now.
35 hours. I love it.
That's a meaty game.
Yeah, man.
It looks cool, so I'm into it.
I'm over 35 hours into GTA.
Conman, to answer your question, the Nintendo Stuff Podcast is the Nintendo part of the Breakdown Podcast, but broken into its own podcast.
Yeah, we're doing the breakdown on a different day. Less Nintendo, more just...
Yes, so we couldn't quite fit everything into one show, and
without it taking 5 hours.
Yeah, so like this Nintendo podcast took almost 2 hours on its own. So it's a good thing that we did this because it allows us to talk about more things in the gaming sphere. I thought we had some really good conversations about some issues in the gaming industry, specifically in today's episode. So I think this was a good idea overall.
Yeah, so Fridays will be the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, and then on Mondays at 7:30 we're gonna do the breakdown, which is more just us.
And both of them will be available on our on your favorite podcast streaming services starting on Tuesday. Well, every Tuesday. So look forward to that. If any of our patrons are still here, you should check out the most recent patron post about the podcast because you have to come up with a podcast topic. That's right. If you donate, I think it's $5 a month, you can actually.
You have to come up with
you can if you donate $1.
We're outsourcing, and
if you donate $1, you can vote based on choices that $5 tiers have suggested.
Also ask questions, and we'll have like a question and answer segment, I think.
Yeah. So if you're a $5 tier, you can come up with the show's topic, and as a $1 tier, you can ask us questions that we'll answer during the show. So yeah, look forward to that if you want to get involved. Check us out in all our places: Patreon, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, all those lovely locations. Join our Discord. Link is in the description on YouTube at Breakroom Arcade. Check out Paul's new video on the channel about discounts and how they devalue video games. It was actually really insightful. Yeah, and I want to thank you guys for watching. This is the first episode of the Nintendo Stuff Podcast. Please rate us on Apple Podcasts. We really need the help. Do that with the breakdown too.
Something really cool, real quick.
Do it, Paul. You got stuff to show.
So I got a package in the mail today. This
Live
is all
unboxing.
like, well, it's not. It's already unboxed.
It's my Switch dock.
I'm gonna show off.
Unbox the dock.
This is a test batch of merch. So I got a couple small things. I got a mug with our logo and my face because I'm vain like that.
Okay.
I got logo, and then the 3 of us on the other side. And then
More merch.
trying out some t-shirts. And yeah, these actually turned out good.
So
Yeah, I like the way the shirts look.
And then just for myself, I dropped like a quite a bit of money to have this guy made. Didn't turn out as good as the shirts, but
looking good.
hopefully that's something that, like, maybe not soon, but in the future, you guys have to look forward to.
Yeah, so definitely check out the opportunities for that. Become a patron at the $50 tier. There is an exclusive Patreon t-shirt. Just going to throw that out there. Anyway, it's been fun, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check us out on Twitter and all of our places to find out when we'll be uploading new stuff, as well as our shows and what we'll be talking about. So don't break your backs, break in the games. But for now, break time's over, and we'll see you on Monday.
Monday.
Monday.